2023 at 9 a.m. in the council chambers. And first off, we have the approval of the agenda. Are there any late items? No, there isn't. Thank you very much. We have a motion to approve the agenda, please. Councillor Chong, Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you. And the adoption of some minutes, and that would be the committee of the whole minutes of January the 10th. We have a motion, please. Councillor King, Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you. And so today we're very happy to have several delegations speaking to us. And first, we're delighted to have Parks Canada back. So we have Sarah Boyle and Megan, and I'm sorry, Megan, I've lost your last name.
I think it's Megan Bull. Yeah.
Megan Bull. Thank you. So they are going to come and talk to us about the how we're doing with the national park, which has been an ongoing issue for 20 years.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having us. Megan's going to pass out some of the most recent public updates. We did send an electronic copy.
Yeah.
As well. Okay, we've got some things. Okay. So, what, first, so I'm Sarah Boyle, and those of you who I haven't met before, I've been the project manager for Parks Canada on this file for 5 years, since 2018. So it's nice to see some familiar faces, some I've met on Zoom, and the new council, welcome, and thanks for inviting us to get an update. So what's currently happening, if you kind of take a look on this side, portion of the update, it goes through the different processes that go through establishing a national park. So usually, first it starts with a feasibility assessment, which started in 2002, and that ended in 2019. So there was quite a significant amount of time that took. A memorandum of understanding was signed between 3 parties who comprised the tripartite steering committee, which includes the province of British Columbia, the Osoyoos Indian Band and the Lower Similkameen Indian Band, who represent the Okanagan Nation, and Parks Canada. And that memorandum of understanding sets the framework for collaboration and more detailed conversations that lead us to where we are right now, which is the negotiation section. So we've started that in 2019. It was impacted by COVID. We weren't able to meet in person, but we were able to get some other detailed information done, like looking into species at risk, etc. So right now we're still in this negotiations phase, which is 2020 to ongoing present. And that occurs with, again, the members of the tripartite steering committee, who are the BC government, and Okanagan Nation is represented by OIB and LSIB. If all parties can agree that the conditions of the negotiations are favorable, all parties have to sign, and then an establishment agreement is reached. And so that's what we're attempting to do. Things are going positively, progressing favorably, but we have no timeline to report on. So, things are moving progressively. We do need to make sure that we meet the requirements of OIB, LSIB, and the province in terms of what they're concerned about holders. When we sent this update out in November, we did get lots of public feedback, the bad and the ugly. We got a lot of positive feedback on this one, and some concerns. We have a 1-800 telephone line as well, and we have people who call in and let us know what they think. So we continue to have an open at any time, members of the public or members of different municipal offices are welcome to call us and invite us for updates. So for those of you that are perhaps new to this file, the last page of your package does have a map. I think Brad, you've got the map in front of you, and this is highlights the area of interest. So it's Okanagan and Termination, Boston, and the areas in green are the focus of the national park proposal that are in the working boundary. And so that is there's any other questions on that, I'd be happy to take those ones out.
I have one question. Have you actually finalized the boundary?
This is the working boundary and part of what we're trying to do with negotiations. It's finalize it. You can't move on an establishment agreement before that's finalized. We did receive a number of requests from different organizations or entities to include or exclude and have tweaks to the boundary. We did receive one from the city of Soyuz in 2020. And so that is being actively discussed at the tripartite steering committee, and there will be a letter that comes to the city of Soyuz, as well as, I believe, the gun range as well. And there's been a couple other entities that have asked for exclusions or inclusions.
And do you have a timeline to hopefully finalize the boundaries?
We'd like to do that, we'd like to do that in the next year or so, and that's particularly of interest to the province of British Columbia.
So would you entertain more questions?
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to give the quick overview and open it up to questions.
And so you are working with Ms. McKay on some of these, the bottom boundary that you're looking at, that one, and the gun range, so.
Yeah.
Yes, and I just want to thank you for looking at those kinds of things and for thinking about how we can work together and how we can make some adjustments, because I think that's been really why it's taken so long, is because there have been lots of groups that have come and asked for you to consider certain things, and the helicopter people and the people using it for biking and hunting and that type of thing. And I know that it's tricky to fit everything in, but thank you for being so open and considerate of all of these groups.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Oh, no, that's what we're here for. And there's an awful lot of tenures, this is one of the first national park reserves that's been proposed in the past 35 years in the southern part of Canada, and it comes with a lot of complex land uses as well. So we need to make sure that we're doing it right in the best time.
So does anybody have any other questions about this? No? No, and so can we ask that you will come back when sort of the next stage is developed?
Yeah,
So that so I see that you're, according to here, you've resumed meeting in person
Yes.
on there, so that's a positive, isn't it?
Yes,
'Cause you
that
haven't done it for a while.
Yeah, and you can only get so far on Zoom calls.
Yes,
So-
for sure.
So, yeah.
Well, you know what, we appreciate it, we appreciate you bringing these updates, and anytime you have another update, please let us know, and we would. Did you have anything? to add?
No, but thank you, Mayor Rivera. No, we're good. We're in contact, so.
Good.
Thank you very much. And if anything does come up in the meantime, you've got Gina has my contact information, Sue and Rosie now as well, and I welcome.
Okay, and thank you to Megan for sending out the updates that you do quite often, so we
Anytime.
appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so
Thank you
much,
very
Sarah. Okay, next we have a BC Rural Health Network. Oh, is that all on the screen there?
This is Paul Adams, yes, the Executive Director of the BC Rural Health Network.
Paul, thank you very much. And did you have Colin Moss with you as well? That's listed in here. No.
I have sent the link to Colin. I'm hoping he's joining, but he's also a councillor in New Denver, so may have some business that he had to address.
Sure. Well, thank you for coming and explaining, and we're going to let you talk first, and then I think we probably have some questions for you. So go ahead, please.
Great. I have a 5-minute PowerPoint presentation that I will provide, and just going to share my screen.
I think we have that. Do we have it?
Yeah, he's gonna share his screen.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead then.
So if everything's working, you should see a picture of my granddaughter on the screen.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Your Worship, and honourable members of Council for the opportunity to meet with you today. I am presenting today from the Upper Similkameen and the traditional territory of the Silks First Nation, home to the Upper Similkameen Indian Band, and just outside the community of Princeton, BC. We have come today to request your membership in our network to help increase the voice of rural residents on their health and well-being. We are in a healthcare crisis, and increasing our voice is critical to ensure rural health equity is realized and stabilized throughout our province. The impacts of not addressing rural healthcare affects everyone. It is time to address the unique nature of rural challenges which require rural-specific solutions. We are a collective of individuals, rural health advocacy groups, rural volunteers, rural healthcare providers, rural research groups, and nonprofits who provide rural programming and support. The group originally formed as a collective of local advocacy groups who championed rural health during the centralization of services. We have grown, and we are growing rapidly. Our purpose is to share successful strategies in an effort to address rural healthcare concerns. We advocate for policy changes that provide all rural residents with attachment to a healthcare practitioner. We identify areas of research aimed at improving access to healthcare in rural communities and provide fertile ground for research to take place. We inform the Ministry of Health in regards to rural healthcare concerns and recommend solutions to the improvement of services to rural BC residents. We work in partnership with other provincial organizations to influence policy change that improve access to healthcare services. We recognize the healthcare concerns of Indigenous communities and include their issues and concerns as part of our work. And we improve access to mental health services and addiction support services. We promote patient-centered community-based primary healthcare reform. We are a conduit of communication. We listen to our membership and the general public and hear about community-level challenges. We transfer knowledge to our membership and the general public from trusted sources. We also transfer knowledge from the membership and the general public to governments. And we provide local and regional solutions to authorities through high-level interaction with policymakers. We inform the grassroots of our communities, our volunteers, our hospice workers, our community services, and generally work to improve the recognition of rural healthcare providers. Community volunteers are the backbone of the BC Rural Health Network. We advocate for equity in health outcomes for all British Columbians, for the ability to live in place in rural BC, for a robust public healthcare system, for science-based management and solutions, and for community-centric care and community-based health management teams. We are apolitical, we are solutions-based, and we are a registered charity. We are here today to ask for you to join us. Your community voice is needed and wanted by our network. As the saying goes, once you've visited one rural community in BC, you have visited one rural community in BC. Each community in rural BC is unique and has its own unique problems and solutions. We cannot champion each individual problem faced, but we can find common areas that will improve health and wellness for many rural communities. Rural residents are resourceful and resilient, and we have solutions to offer. With a louder voice, we will ensure we are not just listened to, but heard. So with that, I would like to thank you all for your time, and if you have any questions, we are happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time to come, and we've heard about this rural health network before. I'm just wondering if you can tell me what is the difference between the BC Rural Health Network and the BC Rural Health Alliance? They seem to have different members. Are you in touch with them? Do you work together?
Sorry, I was on mute. I haven't actually, I'm not familiar with the Alliance Is this a relatively new group that has come about, or was this a group of municipalities from UBCM?
It is, and actually, the mayor of Clearwater was the head of that, and
Right.
he has now turned it over to the mayor of Merritt. And I was just confused somehow, I thought it was the same thing, and apparently it's not, because there were different members on it. When I looked at the members on your group, and I looked at some of the members on the other group, they're quite different, and I thought, well, does it make sense to have two groups if they're working together for the same thing? So I'm just wondering.
I think the difference would be that group was kind of an ad hoc group which arose out of UBCM and
Yes.
a need, whereas we've been in play for 5 years, and we've been building rapidly over the past year, and we represent more than municipalities. We represent community level grassroots organizations, chambers of commerce, social services, hospices, a whole vast array of service providers across BC. And we are reaching out to other groups, and this alliance is obviously of interest to us, because we're also wanting to see their municipalities join our network. I don't think there's a conflict there. I think the more people that are putting a voice forward on rural health, the better. And we're seeing progress from the results of the work that we've been doing as a network.
Thank you. And I see that quite recently Jennifer Rice has now become the parliamentary secretary for rural health.
Yes.
Does that mean that she will be working with you and likely the Health Alliance too?
Well, she's certainly going to be working with us. We've been in contact with Jennifer Rice for several months, and we were aware of that appointment prior to it taking place, but have been keeping it undercover until it became official. She has been away, so she'll be back in play today, and we intend to strike a relationship right out of the gate. And we believe that a lot of the work that we've been doing on advocacy has led to the creation of that role.
Well, thank you for that. So if you're asking for support, so can you explain to us what that means? What does that look like?
So our membership request is very simple. We're not looking to make our money from, our operating costs do not come from membership. We're seeking core funding from government. We're wanting to see as many municipalities and organizations join our network to increase and amplify our voice. The cost to you as a municipality will be $50 a year, so obviously not a big financial ask. In bringing your voice into our network, you can then choose to engage or not engage. So you can take a back seat, and we will advocate on behalf of all rural residents and include Osoyoos as being one of the members of our network. Or you can choose to get directly involved. And we have an implementation committee that is being led by Dr. Jude Cornelson, who's a lead researcher out of the Center of Rural Research in UBC. And it has brought together several professors out of different universities and an array of healthcare providers and community-based advocacy groups, as well as community-based volunteers. And we sit down twice a month, and we go through current issues that are on the table, and we define policy position papers that are reinforced by evidence and research. And then we present those to government to try and get some of this research-based evidence put into practice. And we certainly see Jennifer Rice playing a big role in bringing some of those pieces forward. So right now we have 3 position papers that we're just about to release publicly. One is on community engagement and the importance to bring rural residents' voices back into the healthcare conversation. The second is on out-of-pocket travel and expense on travel in order to reach basic primary care. And the third is on maternity care provision within rural BC. And we would certainly invite you, and you'd be more than welcome to provide somebody to join that committee and to provide input from the Osoyoos perspective. And just to be clear, we don't champion for individual communities or for groups or for organizations or for individuals. We find these common overlapping issues that impact everyone, and then we champion those with the network support behind us.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else on council have anything that they wanted to ask? I'm wondering if I could suggest that that staff do a report on this, and because I see that you were just visiting Oliver quite recently, and I see their name is on the list. So do we need a motion for that? Is there somebody who would like that? Thank you very much, Director. Account Director. I was at the last meeting. Councillor Bennett, Councillor Chong was seconding that we ask staff for a report on this and look at the option of perhaps joining for $50 a year. So I've moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you very much. So thank you very much, and Mr. Moss as well. Thank you for joining us. We will certainly look into this, and we appreciate you coming and talking to us about this. And we'll certainly look at how we can perhaps get involved, because definitely it's high on our list of priorities to look at healthcare.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity this morning, Your Worship, and honourable members of council, and we really would like to include your voice in our network. So we look forward to the review by staff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Did you get that?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So the next thing that we have on our agenda is the South Okanagan Similkameen Medical Foundation. And I think we have a presentation from Sally Ginter, who's the Chief Executive Officer. Would you like to come up to the microphone, please? Thank you. Thank you for coming, and you've brought some friends with you.
Yes, I did. Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council, for having us today. And I did bring with us, of course, our board chair, Peter Steele, my colleague, Lisette Little, and on behalf of the entire board of directors and the foundation, thank you very much for your time today.
Sure.
Great, I appreciate it. Now we did send a video. I don't know. Yeah.
And you left some things for us too in the office.
I did as well. Yes.
The SOS Medical Foundation needs your help in raising $10 million to help expand the oncology department for the South Okanagan and Similkameen, meaning almost double the space for cancer patients. 1 in 2 Canadians will develop some form of cancer in their lifetime, and it's estimated that cancer incidence will increase by approximately 30% in the interior region over the next 20 years. For better care and better outcomes, we're counting on everyone in our community to make this campaign successful.
Count me in. Count us in.
Count us in.
To help us raise $10 million to support the new oncology department, visit sosmedicalfoundation.com. Together, we can enable better cancer care closer to home. Better care, better outcomes.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Wonderful. IT competence is fantastic, isn't
This
it?
is going to be the main area, or the little bit more acute area. This is our care team station behind us, where the staff will.
That's great. Thank you. The reason why I'm here today is probably a little bit unusual compared to the reasons why many people come to council. And I'm here today because I just feel that you as the council and serving your constituents And I'm sure that you're well aware through your regional district of the more than doubling the cancer care at the oncology clinic at the Dickinson Regional Hospital. I just wanted to connect and give you a brief overview of the project, of our progress so far, so that in turn, where appropriate, when appropriate, you could also inform your constituents. So really here, out of a most respectful manner, to share information, answer any questions if you have them, and as we both in our own way continue to serve the people of service. Good. Marvelous. So as per the video, you'll see that we have a $10 million campaign. It's a $22 million overall campaign, $10 million for the capital assets, and that's what the foundation does. And as you know, we've already proven our competency and our commitment to your health care through things such as the emergency room upgrade in Oliver. We're just finishing the trauma room upgrade also in Oliver. I do understand that there's a flooding issue with the health unit here in Soyuz, but I see on the agenda you have John Clare, the interim executive director for Interior Health, so I'll leave that to him.
Questions for him?
Yes, yes. I spoke with him this morning. He's looking forward to it. So where we are with this is the current space, which you saw very quickly from the video. It's too small. It no longer meets health and safety standards. And the design of the space is not conducive to the psycho-emotional social requirements of the patients. So instead of telling you why we need to do this, because I think you already know why, what I'm going to tell you is what the outcome is going to be. Which again, I'm hoping you'll just share with your constituents. It'll more than double the occupancy of the space in order to actively deliver treatment. So that means that people don't have to wait as long for treatment. And we know from BC Cancer Agency that time of your treatment often equals better outcomes. That's why we have the tagline, better care, better outcomes. We also know that in the current space, there is no place for a caregiver. So if I have a family member who's going on their cancer journey and they're going for treatment, and some of these treatments can take hours, I want to stay with them. I want to bring my iPad, I want to do Wordle, maybe watch a movie, but there's no place for me to be there. But in this new space, there's actually dedicated spots for caregivers to stay with people while actively receiving their treatment. Then there's the dignity of the process. Right now, if you and I were there for treatment, Councillor Chong, we would be staring at each other while we're both receiving our treatment. Not ideal. So the new spaces are designed for privacy as well. So important. The safety aspect currently right now, and you saw a quick glimpse, and on the card that I gave you is a QR code, so it can go right to your smartphone. You can watch the video again if you wish, or you can go to our website and see it. But the space for the nursing staff right now, they literally have to side shuffle as they're preparing toxic treatments to give to their patients. It's just overwhelmingly cluttered. This is no one's fault. This is an evolution of care. The space is old, care has changed, and it's just time that the space actually catches up to the level of care that's required. So with the new space, those dedicated nursing areas for them to prepare, for them to safely prepare and dispose of toxic treatments. And one of my favorite things about this is there's dedicated spaces for conversations. So if I'm going to have a conversation about my treatment, the doctor's going to come and see me. Currently, the doctor would come and see me, you would hear. You would hear what my diagnosis is, my treatment, what to expect. It's not ideal. The other is, so now we have separate rooms that are dedicated for those kinds of conversations. One of the other side effects we know on a cancer journey is the psychological impacts. And I know this from my time at the Canadian Cancer Society. And it's just as important as a physical treatment. But right now, again, in that space, if I'm telling my social worker that, well, I'm feeling a little depressed, I'm feeling scared, I need some help, It's difficult to ask for mental health help. It's almost impossible to ask for it in a public forum. So there are spaces dedicated to that as well. And the great thing about that is currently, even when those conversations take place, it's a terrible game of Tetris because it displaces somebody that needs active treatment in order for the conversation to happen. So the space itself is extraordinarily well thought out. We're really excited to be part of this. Again, we know that you've probably heard a fair bit about it. But I just thought, as I said, it was appropriate and respectful to come and speak with you and share with you how we're coming along with the campaign so far. We have a $10 million goal. We're less than a third of the way to the goal, so we have just launched it. And we are looking for support from all throughout the South Okanagan Similkameen because this oncology clinic will serve the South Okanagan Similkameen. I'm mindful that I had 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm grateful for the 5 minutes that you gave me. And I will stop talking at this point if there's any questions.
Well, thank you very much. Can I ask? Excuse me, can I ask, are you using the old part of the hospital? Because we have the new tower, of course, which we've all paid for over many years, and there was a campaign to raise money for that, and that was a good thing. Is it in the old hospital, and are you just redoing sections of it? And you're not doing a new build, I don't think.
Great question. And you are correct. So currently the space is on the first floor. It's of the not in the tower, so of the older part, it's still within the hospital. It's being moved to the third floor. The space is now being decanted. And of course, there's certain remediation that needs to happen in order to get the space ready for White Fox condition for proper construction. And again, the foundation, when we were asked, initially we were asked for 5 million. And then we came back and said, it's actually 10 that we need. And I have such respect for my board of directors because they said 10 million, it's needed. 1 and 2 British Columbians will get cancer, 30% higher rate in the South Okanagan Similkameen because of our demographics. This is not something that we need to wait for. This is something we need to commit to. So we have made a commitment to raise this money, and concurrently, I'm happy to tell you that the work is actually underway. So it's exciting for us to see the project is going forward. And as a fundraiser, it's certainly motivating because we've signed up and we have to do this.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you, Madam Recorder. Sally, I've heard Peter's name lots to Rotary. What can we do more? We're in a story, so we hear this. What can we do? Service clubs, like when you say fundraisers, what do you suggest? Like what kind of things do we have Peter come and give us some ideas? Because I think you're there, the rep down there, Peter. Is what when you're saying that, what does that entail? What are you looking at the town giving you funding or a service club? What kind of fundraisers are there that?
You know, certainly any connections or networking that we can do that would help us to elevate our fundraising, we're grateful for and would be highly appreciative. You know, honestly, my number one motivation for coming here today is that your constituents obviously respect and trust you. They have voted for you. And so at times I'm anticipating that they may ask you some questions about the campaign. And the biggest service that you could do for us is to reiterate the importance of the oncology clinic almost doubling and our commitment and the fact that the foundation does require help. And I would love to talk to anyone, but it's having you be aware and validating the importance of this, which I feel you've already done through your participation with the regional district. So really what I'm asking for now is to just help us make sure the right message gets to the right people so we can do the right thing.
Well, just so that you know, this is televised, and though therefore anybody who's listening is hearing your message. And if they're not listening right now, they can go on our website and listen to it. So definitely there are people that will be looking at this and we can always tell them please go on, and you will hear Sally talking about this, so. Do you have more of these, and did you leave some at the front counter? Good, because that would be a good thing, if anybody does come into the office and ask, we can give them one of these and they can get some more information. So one of the things that was done the last time, and I think that's what Councillor Bennett was talking to, was that there were rooms that needed to be, when they were doing the tower, there were rooms that needed to be, have, you know, supplies in them and that kind of thing, beds and all the other things that are needed. And there were groups that, such as the Rotary, such as the United Church Thrift Shop, I think, and I'm sure there were other groups in town that raised enough money to sort of buy a room, and they had something on the outside of the door. Is that the type of thing you're looking at as well, or not?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
we do have a full complement of naming opportunities within
Okay.
the space. And happy to have a conversation with any donor organization or association that would be interested in exploring that. And it's myself or Lisette or Peter, you know, anyone at the foundation would be delighted to have that conversation. And yes, though, 100% there are naming opportunities associated with this expansion.
Good. Well, there are some groups around that I think might be interested.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wondered if it'd be appropriate to possibly put a link on our website to help promote what they're trying to accomplish.
Is that? Could we do an e-news, or is that, it's not really something that's, it's gonna go on for quite a while, isn't it? So it's not something.
I think it's something you think about it, but one of the concerns is, like, who do you link to, right? Like, this is a fantastic cause. Most times we like to keep it to the more municipal operations, but, you know, this is something that impacts all residents. Maybe it's an opportunity that we can look at to expand to certain things.
We do have something that was added on to our website a couple of years ago, I remember, and it has South Okanagan General Hospital on there. So there are healthcare links on there, and maybe that would be a good place to look at doing that.
And maybe we can look at, you know, even more of a community page, you know, where, you know, it's not really, you know, town business, but it's community business.
Sure.
So there is a distinction between kind of municipal operations, but things that are important to the community, and, you know, things that, you know, newcomers may look at and say, I'm gonna be part of the Rotary Club, whatever it is. So, I think there's some opportunities there that we can take back and look at.
Good. Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions or concerns? Well, we really appreciate you coming and giving us this information and providing these, and certainly at the regional district, I'm on the board there as well, so we do get that kind of information from our hospital district news that we get. So we will certainly tell people that they need to look at this and they need to find out more information if that's a concern, and I'm sure it will be for many. I just saw that, is it in Kamloops? They're getting a freestanding oncology center up there, I think. And I know that all of these things cost money and people have to decide how best to spend their money, but you know what, it's a lot of it's in the news. And I'm just hoping that perhaps the Times Chronicle here will pick up on what was said today and perhaps do an article in the paper here, which would be helpful as well.
That's marvelous. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
And thank you very much for coming, and we will certainly get back to you if we have any questions. Okay, thank you, Peter, for coming as well.
I'm just pretty fatal.
Well, we're lucky that we have Peter living in our community, so that helps. Okay, thanks, everybody, and
We are just waiting for,
John Clare.
yes. So we'll just.
Okay, well, we will wait for him because yeah.
I'm gonna.
Good morning, Mr. Clare. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining a little bit earlier because we had, we went through the other presentations quickly. So you've got lots of time. So this is John Clare, who's the interim executive director, clinical operations, community and acute South Okanagan Interior Health. That is a long title. So what we particularly wanted was for you to give us a bit of an update on what services are offered in locally in Osoyoos. And then I think we likely had some questions for you. And so would you like to go ahead soon and welcome? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor McCordoff. I appreciate that. And good morning, everyone. I appreciate your time today. As Mayor McCordoff indicated, my name is John Clare. I'm the interim executive director for Interior Health in the South Okanagan. South Okanagan, obviously Penticton, Summerland, Oliver, Osoyoos, Karamias, and Princeton area. So just an overview of some of the services that are available in our area. Primarily start with acute care. So South Okanagan General Hospital is the closest acute care area to the community of Osoyoos. Got a 24-hour emergency department, 18 inpatient beds, medical imaging such as X-ray and ultrasound and lab services. I think, and Mayor McCordoff can attest to this, one of our bigger challenges is physician shifts at that hospital. We've had a few closures over the last few months. Recently, there's been a change to the physician rotation in the emerge department. They've moved to a different schedule and seems to have been very successful in filling a lot of those shifts. So that's good going forward, because I know that's been a bit of a concern for the communities over the last little while. Long-term care. Most folks that live in Osoyoos know that Mariposa Gardens is the long-term care site that's situated in the community. That's a contracted partner site. So where it's owned and operated by Sienna, but the funding flows through the Ministry of Health, through the Health Authority to the site. So there is no difference in the funding model between our partnered long-term care sites and our owned and operated sites. Mariposa Gardens has 102 funded long-term care spaces. They offer 24-hour professional nursing services. And the access to long-term care is through our Program Access Coordination Committee, or PAC, and that's where a group of home health clinicians, allied staff, and long-term care leaders review each individual as far as appropriateness to go into long-term care. And there's quite an extensive provincial system which identifies which site people can go to. We do try very hard, specifically in our smaller communities, to place people within their communities. We respect the fact that families, a lot of times transportation is a challenge. So we try to make sure if somebody's home is a community such as Osoyoos, Mariposa Garden would be the destination for them. I will let you know that currently, due to the staffing challenges, Mariposa Gardens is not accepting any new admissions, and that's been for about the last 2 months. Interior Health works extensively with the partners who own those sites around what are the barriers and how can we move through those. But currently right now, there is no timelines for reopening to admissions at Mariposa. Home health services, our health unit in Osoyoos is situated, or was situated, in the former Sagebrush long-term care site. I think some people may know we had an extensive flood there in December of 2021. So we've got the Britco trailers set up adjacent to that. We're anticipating February, March, we should be repatriating back to the Sagebrush site for have our health unit back there. Home health services, case management, which is for people that require professional oversight, but non-professional support, such as home support, that live at home. We currently have 109 clients on that program in the community of Osoyoos. So programs that are offered through our home health case managers, wound care, home support. Those individuals can also access respite services, which are short-term stays up to 7 days in duration. A lot of time that's utilized for caregiver burnout, or perhaps the well spouse might be ill or may require surgery, so they would just require a short-term stay. We have 2 respite beds at Mariposa Gardens, and they are continuing to admit into those beds. In addition, one of the real positives for the community of Osoyoos, we have 3 community hospice beds, which are identified to support palliative care outside of Moog Hospice House in Penticton. 2 of those 3 beds are situated in Mariposa. There was strong advocacy by the South Okanagan Hospice Association down in Osoyoos to have those beds there. So that's been an excellent amenity for the community. And as well, Mariposa Gardens has 10 funded assisted living beds as well. So the difference between assisted living and long-term care is that in assisted living, you do not require the 24-hour professional nursing oversight. So someone in assisted living would have support from care aides, but they would be case managed by an RN from our home health team, but they do not require professional nursing there 24 hours a day. Mental health and substance use in the town of Osoyoos, we have 1 full-time MHSU counselor, 1 full-time life skills worker, and a 0.6 case manager, which is a registered nurse. Obviously those are in-reach and outreach services for individuals in the community. One of the new initiatives that is just underway, we in collaboration with Interior Health, the school district, and Child and Youth Mental Health, we have a new integrated child and youth team. That program lead position is going to report into our MHSU manager, and all those positions are based in Osoyoos, but they will serve the entire school district 53 catchment area. Osoyoos is one of the communities where we've been able to embed some child and youth mental health services. Penticton is another one, and we're really happy to see the school district collaborate with us on that. Public health, so we continue with our COVID-19 immunizations. We've had some challenges to source locations for larger immunization clinics. Mayor McCordoff has been very helpful trying to source out some of the larger space for us, but currently we are utilizing in-clinic appointments at our health unit for immunizations. Again, once we are able to get back to the former Sagebrush site, we'll have a lot more space and we should be able to set up a larger immunization clinic in that building. And as far as child immunizations go, we have a plan in place to address the backlog. We did utilize substantial public health resources due to COVID-19 and the immunization program, but we do have a plan in place to start to address some of the backlog of the child immunization. Some of the larger priorities for us in 2023, the provincial announcement that came out on January 6th to stand up the province-wide emergency operations center to address acute care access and capacity. PRH was one of the 20 hospitals across BC that was asked to stand up a dedicated incident command. So we've dedicated a lot of time and resources over the last couple of weeks to addressing access and capacity at a PRH. But we heavily utilize SOGH as part of that planning as well. And to no one's surprise, one of our bigger priorities for 2023 is our human health resource planning. We have substantial vacancies in a lot of our areas across all our portfolios, but specifically our smaller rural communities, we are really struggling with that. We currently have a 14.5% vacancy rate for clinical operations in the South Okanagan. The 2 primary drivers on that are our community health workers who provide home support, as well as acute care nursing, and that's impacted both SOGH and PRH. Our leadership team, which includes myself, our director team, and our managers for our rural communities, we meet weekly around strategies and structure around trying to facilitate some recruitment and retention into our smaller communities. We do utilize agency nurses quite heavily. But again, Osoyoos is a great destination in the summertime. We have no problem recruiting agency nurses in the summertime in Osoyoos. This time of year, not so much success. And for us in the summertime, the trade-off is we do have people that are interested, but housing becomes sourcing out housing, and the cost of those non-wage pieces are pretty extensive to our organization. And that's also led to the pause in beds with Mariposa. They had, I believe, at least 50% of their professional nursing was covered by agencies. And as we moved from fall to winter, the agency nurses decided to not renew their contracts and go elsewhere. And I will pause there. Thanks, Mayor Kordoff, and see if there are any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clare. I had one question. I was going to ask about the rural retention grant. And I understand that there is, and I got this from somebody else, which is, so that's why I was asking you about it. That the Suias, Oliver Term, yes, are not on the loan forgiveness list, but Grand Forks and Princeton are. Does that make any sense to you? Can you explain what that means?
Well, those are two different questions. What making sense to me and having a response might be two different things. I know that is set provincially. That's interesting to hear. But because I thought for sure that all our smaller communities across the SOK were part of that. But I will certainly reach back to our recruitment team. And if it's okay with you, Mayor Kordoff, I will send you an email with a response to that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And yesterday I was on the IH mayors and chairs Zoom call with IH personnel from Kelowna. I don't know whether you were on that one or not, but definitely they were. There were some things that I quickly wrote down because I thought, they were important to our area. The staffing, 13% vacancy in IH for doctors and nurses, I'm assuming, which is pretty well what you said. I think it was 14. But 97% of physician vacancies are filled. That was announced yesterday too, which didn't really seem right to me. Do you agree with that, or is that just somebody taking over an existing practice, or what does that mean? Do you know?
So I think that just the gap in that is the primary care physicians are not hired through Interior Health. So we do have physician positions within like hospitalists, those sorts of positions within our acute care sites. So that's probably where the 97% is coming from. Like PRH, for example, all our physician lines are filled. But as far as the primary care physicians in the community, they're not hired from Interior Health. So that might be where that discrepancy is coming from.
I can get you, and and so apparently, 54% of doctors are choosing community care rather than longitudinal care. Does that? No, I don't.
I think that's pretty accurate.
Does that make sense? That's likely what was why I was mixed up, because those two things didn't fit. But this is obviously into community care that you're talking about, the 97%.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anyone else that has any questions of Mr. Clare? John, please. Sean. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Kordoff. I couldn't find any statistics on BC, so I can only pull from Ontario. By 2035, we'll need 4 times more long-term care facilities, just with the social tsunami and aging population. Do we have a plan in place or a conversation has been started for that situation for when it does come in about 10 years, if not sooner, because I believe COVID expedited earlier.
I think as far as the long-term care bed strategy goes, so there was 495 beds announced across the health authority about 2 years ago. Penticton was in line for, at the time, 90. That RFP is not gone anywhere right now. But it's database. So as we continue to move through that, again, that's ministry driven in relation to bed numbers versus population versus demographics plus 75 years old. It's safe to say we're aware. We recognize that the demographic is certainly shifting, across the entire world, but we advocate very hard in the South Okanagan. It's a retiree destination. So we understand that our demographics are going to be that's not skewed, that's the incorrect word, but higher than normal on that. So again, we do advocate for it with the ministry. However, those are ministry decisions in relation to bed numbers and those sorts of things. I think an important piece on that is that we put people in long-term care far too early on their trajectory. And I think part of that work has to be, how do we maintain people in their own home until they have to go to long-term care? Because a lot of times our system defaults to long-term care, and that's unfortunate.
Thank you.
So one of the other things that I know, Mr. Clare understands this, that apparently there are 2,000 international nurses in line wanting to come to Canada, which, and I know that there's a bit of a trick to doing that. I mean, you have to get in line, you have to prove that you are competent and ready to take on jobs. Of those, and you likely know about that, of those people, are they required once they come here to go to a certain location for a certain amount of time? Is that the way that they try and help nurses? Yeah.
No, I don't think there's, sorry to interrupt. I don't think there's any conduit of assigning people to specific areas. So again, if these people again are able to come and work in Canada, they would always be permitted to go wherever they like to work. I know, again, there's active recruitment that goes on from our organization. We recognize our areas of need. However, I don't think there's any ability for us to direct people to specific communities. We can just, obviously say, if you're looking for specific work, this is an area of interest that you might want to explore.
Okay. Thank you. And I understand there's a group from IH that is going to the United Kingdom to try and get some of the people that are working over there to come back to Canada, which was interesting because I hadn't heard of IMGs before, International Medical Graduates, but of course there are many because people come from other countries and that's what they would be included in that.
Yeah.
So there is a procedure, once you do have a job here, that you have to be, is it a 3-year kind of a trial, or you have someone helping you or assisting you or checking on you for 3 years? Is that how that works?
I don't know the exact details of that, Mayor McCordoff, but I do know that obviously, as far as any internationally trained nurse that comes to Canada, there's going to be some requirements around, you're right, that initial assessment of how your skills and education line up with our expectations and our specifications. And yes, there would be a requirement for, I guess it would be the BC College of Nurses and Midwives to follow those people. And again, they're the regulatory body in relation to their overall work. I do know that we have a very strong mentorship program when it comes to all our new nurses, whether they're new grads or new hires. But again, that whole, regulatory body and ability to hold a license in BC, that sits with the BC College of Nurses and Midwives.
Good, thank you. And so we're happy to hear that there's a new compensation model for doctors that's coming out of February 2023. So anything that can help us look at our healthcare system and try and make people feel more comfortable and more in tune with things, and because people get scared, and that's what happens. They come to us and they say, I can't find a doctor and I don't know what to do. And so we need to have communication and things in place where they can be offered some assistance for that. So we really appreciate you taking the time to explain how things work down here. If we have any other questions and so on, can we send them up to you, and would you answer?
Absolutely. So Mayor McCordoff, when I send you that email around that rural retention grant, please share my email address with council, and I'm more than happy to be the conduit for any questions people might have.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, Mr. Clare, for coming and talking to us.
Take care. Have a great day. Thank you.
So I think that's the end of our agenda because, as you know, we were not able to get Troy Clifford, who's the provincial president of Ambulance Paramedics of BC. And I think he just seems to be busy with so many things he was not able to attend. So we hope that he will arrange to come and visit us at some other time. So if there's nothing else on the agenda, I will have ask for a meeting to be terminated. Councillor King, Councillor Chong, all